How's everyone doing today? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Capone, discussion number 70. Today, my special guest is Dan Harvey from the brutal, chaotic band, the Great Redneck Hope, coming out of Colorado Springs. He was also in a band called Matterhorn that was like an instrumental, doomy, sludgy type of stuff with two of the other members from Great Redneck Hope. And he's in a band called Worry now that's like super heavy, doom, sludgy, just powerful, evil, like shit. Super dope. Can't wait to talk to him about Colorado scene and the couple times that I got to see Great Redneck Hope up in New Hampshire. Should be a great time. Hope everybody's well. Hope, Black Friday kind of went out real quick. Got back in. I didn't really do too much shopping. We did like some furniture shopping for my daughters. I hate Black Friday going out there. So salute to anybody that's battling out there store-wise. But yeah, can't wait to talk to Dan. Great Redneck Hope was just such a fun band. Top 3 for me all time, like energy and like they always brought like the humor with them, throwing one-liners out, fucking with each other, just crazy energy all the time. Got the crowd going and stuff like that. It was just like a really great time seeing them. Just waiting on Dan. He should be here any second. Just waiting on him any second. Yeah, but I got the pleasure of like recording them a couple times up in New Hampshire. John McCarthy, I think, set up both shows that I went to and saw. It was Totally Awesome Fest in Atkinson, New Hampshire, and then I think it was John's Basement in Hampstead, New Hampshire, that they played on a like cold, wintry night. It was like steaming hot in the basement, but it was definitely a fun show. Dan should be on any second now. Parking lot pimping again. Too many people at my house takes my Wi-Fi away, so I can't, it cuts me off all the time. I learned, that's what the problem was. Up my speed at my house, still fucking did it. So sometimes it's either parking lot pimping or nobody's at the house and I get to do it at the house. So got the Santa beard. Here we go.
Dan, I sent you the invite. Hopefully it works. You might have to update your Instagram, or if you're on the app, not the website, it works. I'll try and get you again. See if that works. We'll make it work. Like I said, it's always a fickle thing with Instagram. It says you're unable to join. Like I said, try to update or go to the app. It might not work through the website. There we go. Because you're unable to join. Like I said, try to update your.
All right, hold on. Let me kill this thing.
Update or go to.
All right, you working now?
Yeah, can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. For some reason, it wouldn't let me do it off the laptop, so I guess we're going phone for this one.
Yeah, I use my phone too. I tried to do it on my computer and it never worked, so that's why sometimes I tell people just do it with the phone. I want to
Easy
thank
enough.
you. I want to thank you so much for taking time out and doing this. Hope you weren't out on Black Friday dealing with that bullshit.
No. No, not at all. Not my speed these days.
Yeah, no, I didn't really either. I had to go get some furniture, so I ran out real quick, but I wasn't going through all that other shit like Walmart and all that stuff. No thanks.
No, we went to Safeway and got some ham and cheese so we can make leftover roll-up thingies with crescent rolls. Other than that, I ain't going out today.
Yeah, I hear you, yeah. But thanks again for taking time out to talk to me. I haven't seen your face probably since
It's been a while.
when you played up here in Hampstead, New Hampshire at John McCarthy's basement show.
Was that with Post Office Gals?
No, I don't think it was. No,
Okay, so that must have been a different tour than I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting like messages the whole time.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I am too.
Yeah, and then the other time it was the fest at Totally Awesome Fest in Atkinson, New Hampshire, with like you guys, Bleeding Kansas,
Yep.
Bravo fucking Bravo, like that Gospel played that show.
Yeah, I remember that.
Fest. That was a great fest.
If I remember right, at that fest, some girl got all of her money stolen, right, out of her purse.
Yeah. There was a lot of things that happened at that fest. There was like a broken window. Some girl fainted during the gospel set right into their amps. She like passed right out and fell into their amps on that set. Yeah, it was crazy. It was hot as hell in there. It was like 100 degrees in there. So
I remember it being very uncomfortable to play and just be in that building, but still a fun show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like I said, I was lucky enough to record both those shows. So I put like a few videos on my page here and there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Both those shows.
One of those that you posted is a song that we never got to release. It was a new song that we were writing when we were on one of our last tours, and we never recorded it or put it anywhere. So you have the only footage of it that I know.
Oh, really? Wow.
Except for, like some actual tape, like, Tascam recording demo tapes of it. And I don't even know where those are, to be honest, anymore. Somewhere in a box, probably in my garage. But, you got the only footage of it, and you can't tell what it sounds like all the other ones when we play live, so it really don't matter.
So, like, Bradley never recorded anything in the studio with you guys, right?
No, yeah. So he was with us for the last few tours. He was writing those songs with us, and I think we had 2 or 3 songs, something like that. And we were hoping to do maybe a split 7-inch or, something just to get it out, and then everything just started falling apart there towards the end. I think we just burnt ourselves out on everything at that point. Yeah.
Well, you guys were like a touring machine ever since Great Redneck Hope started. You guys toured like nonstop all the time. So
yeah, I mean we averaged 6 to 9 months out of the year that we'd be gone. So I think I think we stopped touring when I was 22 or 23, and I mean we were just burnt ourselves out on being gone that long. And then, as it goes, you get older, you start getting more long-term relationships and jobs, and it gets harder to, I can't work at Quiznos forever or Zoomy, so I can leave for 6 months out of the year and still, have an apartment or anything else. So it, came with it. And obviously, we weren't ever, it's not like we were every time I dined, we were making money off of this shit. I mean, we lost money every time we left. So that also started to add into it.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, for a Colorado band to make it up to New Hampshire, like, multiple times, you guys must have been played New Hampshire at least 3 or 4 times. Like,
I would think so, yeah. Yeah, we tried to do the East Coast one time a year, the West Coast one time a year, and then do the Midwest on the way to the East Coast. So, yeah, I mean, we tried to get as many places we could, as often as we could, because that was the only way we could make any money was selling merch.
Yeah. Speaking of merch, I still have this hoodie, this bad boy hoodie.
Oh shit!
It stood the test of time, but I still have it in my possession.
The only other person I know with one is my mom.
Really?
And she wears it, around the campfire and stuff when we're hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a classic hoodie. I just couldn't get rid of it because it's funny though because usually on hoodies my strings like go off, but like now that zipper's fucked up so it doesn't have a tab. It's just I have to pull it up like by the
Oh,
stub
shit.
of it. Usually it's the strings, but the stub on that thing.
Yeah.
So usually my first question I ask when I talk, with my special guest is, what got you into punk and hardcore, and what were you listening to before you were listening to punk and hardcore as a kid?
As a kid, so metal. So I got into punk and hardcore through metal. So my dad would. So when I was a kid, I had pretty bad asthma, and so when I couldn't sleep at night, my dad would just drive me, from point A to point B for like an hour or two to get me to fall asleep in the car while medication kicked in and shit like that.
Yeah.
And so he would play me AC/DC, Back in Black. He played me Judas Priest. I remember Master of Puppets. He played that, and like that one was a real game changer for me because it was harder than all the other stuff he showed me. And then my mom would play me like John Denver and the Allman Brothers and shit. So I got into it with metal. And then, as I got older, listened to, Pantera and Slayer and the usual stuff, that everyone listens to in junior high, getting into high school. And then as I started getting into high school, just friends that I would make would be, hey, have you ever heard this? I remember one of the first things I heard was Earth Crisis. And then, it just resonated. Actually, what really, I think, kind of bridged that gap was Sepultura's Chaos AD. Because that is basically a hardcore record written by a bunch of Brazilian metal dudes.
That's true.
And I mean, it's, it sounds like Earth Crisis. It sounds like Hatebreed. It's punishing and it's heavy and it's awesome. So, as soon as I found Earth Crisis was the first one with Gomorrah Season's End. And then I found Satisfactions of Death and Desire. And that was pretty much a wrap after that. Because I wanted to go to that harder, the harder route. And I'm sure, like a lot of kids, you could go see that band and then talk to them and sweat on them, sing along with them. And, that was very, very appealing at, when you're 16, 17 years old to be able to, meet your hero, basically. And then do, whatever. You could do whatever you wanted. Obviously, you could start a band and start touring when you're 17 years old like I did. There was no rules to it where, there was in metal or, more mainstream music, I guess.
Yeah. And like, were you going to shows before you kind of wanted to be in a band?
Yeah. So, I mean, started, with bigger shows. My dad would take me to shows, like Metallica and stuff like that. And then I started going to, like local warehouse shows, punk rock shows, stuff like that. And that's where, you really catch if you're going to catch it, I think that's where you catch it is you go to your first live show and you go, oh shit, this is a whole thing that no one else knows about. It's my own little thing that I can be a part of. Yeah.
So how was the Colorado scene back then? Like, what kind of bands were thriving when you first started going to shows? Like, what were the bands that kind of, caught your attention and your eye?
So for hardcore, Victory Boy was a big band when I was a kid, local band. The guy that played guitar in the Great Redneck Hope, he played in a band called Sworn to Justice, and then later a band called Laid to Rest that I played bass in with them right as we started the Great Redneck Hope. But, as far as punk bands, there was JJ Nobody and the Regulars. There was the Mansfield, stuff like that. That was a little more on the punk side of things. I mean, if I'm going to listen to punk, I want to listen to stuff like Circle Jerk. So, I want to listen to a minute and a half long, basically hardcore songs. But at this point, they're considered punk because it's so far gone from what hardcore started out as.
Yeah, true. Now, was the scene, were you always from Colorado Springs, or, did you have to travel to go to see shows outside of, where you were living?
So we would travel. I mean, I was born in Phoenix, but I've been here since I was 5, so I grew up in this. I mean, this is the only scene I've ever been in, really. But for sure, if you wanted to go see a better touring band, like you wanted to go see Converge or something, you were going to Denver for the most part. you know, like you could go to Denver and see Botch play, or The Locust, or Man of the Bastard. You know, that's where all those shows were. Down here was mostly local, but every now and again you'd catch something rad, like Lucero played in a pizza parlor here.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, same place where we had our record release show. Place called H.W. Briggs back in the day. So if you could catch on early before they could get to those Denver shows, you could see rad stuff. So yeah, when Lucero toured on Tennessee, they played in a pizza place, and you know there's like 300 people watching them play in a pizza place. It was awesome. But Denver's also a 60-minute drive from here, so it's not that big.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And I mean, still, if you really want to see a show for the most part, you're going to Denver. Especially for, you know, the bands that are from here right now that are doing it big, like Primitive Man and Oryx and Chemists and In the Company of Serpents, all those kind of bands. Yeah, they're all Denver based. So if you want to go see them, for the most part, you're going to Denver.
So what was your first band that you played in, and how did that bridge into the Great Redneck Hope?
Well, the first band I played in is embarrassing as shit. It was a band called Introverted, named after the Slayer song off of their hot record, Diablos in Music. And it was, I mean, dude, it was as close to nu metal as you can get without being nu metal, basically. Because the other dudes in the band wanted to sound like Korn or, you know, whatever. And I wasn't very good at my instrument, so it was what it was, but it fucking sucked. And then basically that just, you know, progressed into, you know, I'll jam with this guy, I'll jam with that guy, and then I met the guitar player from The Hope. And that's, you know, that's really when it started taking it more seriously, I guess, than just like something fun to do with your friends, basically. Yeah,
because you and Jeremy basically started the Great Redneck Hope, and then Aaron came in afterwards. Like,
no, actually, so we started it, and then Derek, the original singer, came in, and we played our first show at Aaron's house venue. And after we played that show, then he joined the band after that. And then, you know, everything after that is obviously, you know, whatever. But that's how it started, was Jeremy and I playing in his parents' basement. And then we needed a singer. We knew this guy, Derek. So we would just sit in his room for like, you know, 2 days before the show and be like, I don't know, write some songs to these horrible 4-track recordings that we have, boombox recordings. And he did it. And then we got Aaron, and that was that. And then we just went from there, and as fast as we possibly could, basically. Did you guys play as a 3-piece beforehand, though? It was just guitar, drums, and singing for our first show, maybe our first 2 shows. And then it was the full band after that. So I can only imagine how awful that shit was. It couldn't have been great.
The first thing you guys put out was the Cross the Line demo. That was the first thing you guys put out, right?
That is correct. Yep.
And obviously the sound, like with Cross the Line, that demo, and then Why Humans Think Computers Can't, the sound was obviously different from like Explosion was kind of like a different sounding Great Redneck.
Right.
What was the thought process of like what you guys sounded like in the beginning, and then how did you guys get to so chaotic and fast and like spazzy? Like, what was the mindset there for you guys to change like that?
I think it was more what we could physically do at the time. You know what I mean? Like where our skill sets were. Metal is relatively easy to play if you can learn, you know, a pentatonic scale and have minimal double bass skills. You can play metal pretty much all day. And, you know, obviously metalcore in the late 90s through, you know, early, well, I mean, even today, but on the band, it definitely got a little more like, hey, you know, we could throw some of the sillier stuff in here, and you know, that kind of stuff that we're kind of known for. But other than that, it was basically just, we want to sound, you know, we want to play Dillinger Escape Plan songs, but we're not good enough to do that right now. And then another big thing was finding, you know, like As the Sun Sets, like that was pretty big for us, as far as like, oh, you can just write a 20-second song that's not a Nasm 20-second song. and add as many parts as we possibly can, and then throw a breakdown in it and, you know, see what happens with it. So that was also pretty big for us back then.
Yeah. You know, it was. I liked the older stuff, but once Splosion came out, and then what was it? The Bleeding Kansas split came out. Was it that came out, and then Behold the Fuck Thunder came out after that. I think that was the best recording because obviously you guys recorded with Kurt at God City.
Yeah.
Was your early recordings kind of frustrating that you know, I've read that like you guys didn't get the sound you wanted, or like it wasn't recorded, you know, good enough for you guys?
Yeah. Well, it's not really the engineer's fault because we didn't know what we were doing either. You know, that was our first time actually going to a studio to actually record. And that Bleeding Kansas split, I think, sounds a lot better. And that's the same guy that recorded Splosion. Yeah. So, you know, it was a mix of us not knowing what we're doing, and then also a guy that did not know what he was getting into when we showed up. Like, he had done an R. Kelly record at one point. And then we showed up and we're like, hey, dude, what's up? Like, this is going to be terrible for you. And, you know, we were recording it to tape, and it was just odd. The ironic part is now I would love to have that kind of recording for the bands that I play in now, that kind of raw, you know, tape-driven recording. I love it. But for what we were doing, it was just too muddy. You know what I mean? So it's not like we hate the recording. Just we didn't know any better. They didn't know any better. It was 2001 or 2 that we recorded that. Is, you know, it was a different time, as stupid as that is to say now. Yeah.
Like I love Splosion, but like you just said, the Bleeding Kansas split actually does sound, you know, to me, in my ear, better than Splosion recorded wise. You know what I mean? It just sounded cleaner and like.
Step outside while we're chatting. Go ahead.
It just seemed like cleaner to me, so I agree with you there. I love all this stuff. I was just like, I was reading some things that, you know, the recording was kind of muddled and stuff like that and this and that, and I wanted to ask you about it personally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it is muddled, especially on the drum side, but again, you know, we're kids. We didn't know what we were doing. So that's why we went to Kirk, because we're like, well, he knows what he's doing at least, so he can kind of guide us into what we need to do. And he did, as far as, you know, making guitars turn the gain down and stuff so it's not so messy. And, you know, he was obviously, you know, a senior of us, you know, and someone that we respected. So he just knew what to do. And for essentially the same amount of money, we got a much better product out of it.
Yeah. And what got you guys to go to Kurt and God City to begin with? It was just like all you guys came together and was like, hey, fuck it, let's just go record at God City up in Massachusetts.
It was, well, we all like Converge, and his recording sounded nasty as shit, and why not spend a week in Salem? I mean, you know what I mean? We're kids, you know, might as well go do something memorable if we're going to go do it. And the label at the time, you know, was helping us out with that kind of stuff. So it's not like we were, you know, scrounging together change out of the couch to do it. I mean, it still cost us a small fortune, but we figured if we were going to give it, you know, a good go, then now's the time to give it a good go. And that's what we did.
Yeah. And so that was the last thing that you guys recorded. There's no like hidden songs that anybody's going to hear in the near future or anything like that.
You got him recorded. No. Like I said, I mean, like a couple boombox tape recordings of things that, I mean, they're not even releasable. When we just released that Cross the Line demo record and that live on the radio thing, I mean, the editing they had to do to make that playable is unreal. And they asked us to look through stuff, and I looked through a few tapes and I'm like, dude, I'm not selling this. Like, it just sounds like noise, basically. It you know, it's not even music. It's on a boombox. So, there's nothing else around except for, like I said, you as far as I know, have the only recording of that new song.
No kidding. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I might have it somewhere else, but like the recording's going to be terrible, so it doesn't.
Yeah. So did somebody come out up to you guys and ask you if they could put out that demo and the live recording? And you guys were like,
Wax Vessel, if you don't know, their whole deal is they put out stuff that was never on vinyl before for, you know, all these old kind of bands like us and From a Second Story Window and not Kiss It Goodbye. I'm dropping on their name now and it's bummed out. Anyway, yeah, so that's what they do. So they hit us up and said, hey, you know, do you have anything? And I said, basically all we have is this demo, and we happen to have this one okay recording. And they said, cool, we'll throw it up there and do it. And that's all there was. I mean, basically they handled it from there. I sent them some tracks and they said, we'll make the art, you proofread it, have a good day. And that was the end of it. They took care of everything. It was the best record putting out experience I've ever had in my life.
Wow, no kidding. Nice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask about Derek leaving and Bradley coming in. It seemed like you guys didn't miss a step, though. There wasn't like a long time where you guys weren't playing. What was the time frame between Derek leaving and then Bradley coming in? Because it kind of went like a smooth transition, because when I saw you the second time, Bradley was doing the singing, and I was like, oh, it's a new singer. And then it was, you know what I mean? You guys still had the energy. It was like you didn't miss a step by getting Bradley and Derek stepping away. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I don't remember how long it was exactly. I mean, a couple months, maybe something like that. Derek had decided to go back to school, and Bradley was obviously a friend of ours. He played in that Sworn to Justice band with Jeremy and that Laid to Rest band. So we had all been friends previously, and basically said, hey, you have the availability to tour. Let's, make up some lyrics for some of these songs and let's get after it. And that was pretty much it. That's the good thing about the Hope is you can kind of just, if you can scream in a tempo, you can say whatever you want. It's all good otherwise. So it was a pretty easy transition. If we had to replace the guitar, or the bass, or the drums, I feel like it would have been harder to do that than just the vocals. Not to say that the vocals aren't important, but we tried to replace bass at one point as we were stopping being a band, and it did not go well.
Yeah. Is that kind of why, the Hope kind of, dissipated because of, Aaron leaving and trying to find a bass player?
100%, yeah. Yeah, we were trying to find another bass player, and it just, that band, everyone had very specific styles, and it's not an easy one to emulate.
Yeah.
So it just never, it was turning into more like mosh than what it was supposed to be. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So we just gave it up and called it good.
Yeah. You guys were like, I said this in the beginning before you jumped on, that you guys were like one of the most fun bands to see live. The energy, the humor that you guys threw at people and fucking with each other, and just having a great time and letting the crowd interact with you guys and doing shit like that. What was like? Were you guys always like that when you first started, or did that kind of turn into something?
But we're still like that. We're silly dudes. And, we want to have fun no matter what we're doing. So that's just who we all were, still are. I still talk to Aaron and Jeremy very regularly. And, all we do is joke around and say dumb shit to each other all day. Make fun of each other. That's just who we are personality-wise. So we figured, well, we also hated crazy serious bands that, I'm going to be sad on stage and mope around. Like, fuck that. Like, we're here to have a good time for 15 to 20 minutes, and then that's all we have. So let's have a good time while we're doing it.
Yeah. Like I said, the few times that I saw you guys, it was, some of the funnest shows that I had been to up and around here, and I've been to a million shows. It was just the energy, the humor, the crowd interaction, like just fun shit. So, I feel bad that, anybody that didn't get to see you guys, it was a unique experience, to say the least. Because
that's a nice way to put it.
You don't usually see that too often, so it was nice and refreshing to see that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? You don't really see that too often.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we saw it more back then. I feel like people were more willing to have fun back then. We've kind of gone back to we're getting pretty serious about everything right now. Which, everything ebbs and flows. When we broke up, no one gave a shit about us as a band anymore. And now, we put out that record, and, it's kind of rejuvenated some of the interest in things. And same with, Daughters. Daughters stopped, and they put out that new record, and, it's hot shit. They're on Adult Swim and NPR and whatever. So it all ebbs and flows. But I feel like it was a funner time to be in music back then.
Yeah.
With just across the board. I feel like not everyone was taking themselves so seriously, almost to a fault, like they do now. But I feel like it's also starting to change a little bit now, where people are starting to have more fun again. So
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
they just need to have fun without, groping on underage girls. That seems to be a pretty big problem right now.
I know. Jesus, I know. Seriously. So fucking crazy.
Dude, it is crazy.
I wanted to ask you about touring too with the Hope. What are some of your fond memories of like touring? And do you have any good like tour stories? Because like I said, you guys toured all over the place. You were everywhere. You must have some great stories.
Yeah. So all of our fondest tour memories don't actually involve playing any shows. It was the in-between stuff. But like touring with Bleeding Kansas and shooting bottle rockets at them on the freeway, not knowing that they had a gas leak in their Jeep or in their van, and like we could have blown their car up. We made boats out of like tinfoil and shit in them and sent them down a river towards people, like just dumb kid stuff. But it was fun at the time, stuff that now would not go over well. You know what I mean? But just I mean, hanging out with your friends. You got to hang with your best friends for months at a time. And don't get me wrong, all of us after 3 months are like, dude, let's go home and not see each other for a while. But overall, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, it was just living it up, having a fun time. Meeting new people, staying at strangers' houses on the floor, eating vegan spaghetti 3 times a week. You know what I mean? Just it was just a fun overall. As far as specific stories, I'll tell you some when we're not doing this. in interest of my future as a human. But yeah, there's fun stories for sure.
And touring too, what were some of the bands that you remembered that just blew you away, that you weren't really like accustomed to seeing or hearing, and then you played with them and were kind of like, holy shit, this band is like, because you guys played so many shows, you must have seen bands you didn't hear before, and then you played and you were like, fuck, this band is like the shit.
I mean, the big ones I can think of are Baroness, right when first came out. We played with them in a basement in Portland, if I remember right. And I mean, just, dual harmony solo, just ripping. I mean, Baroness was so fucking heavy back then. And I mean, still a good band. Yellow and Green, I think, is an amazing record, but it's not first and second. That's for sure.
No. Music. Definitely.
The first time we played with the Acacia Strain, we played with them right before 3750 came out. At I think it was called Hit the Pit Fest or something like that.
Really? Huh?
In Providence, Rhode Island. And I mean, dudes were throwing cinder blocks at each other. Like, it was some wild fucking shit. But I mean, we had never seen anything that heavy before. You know what I mean? Because they played a couple songs off of 3750 and we're like, dude, what is happening right now? Like, this is nuts. Trying to think of some other bands that, maybe weren't as big, but I really enjoyed. And Albatross was always fun to play with. There was this 2-piece, like, acoustic guitar thing called Donna and Carly. They were amazing.
Oh, Donna and Carly. Yeah.
I still have that demo CD in the garage in a big box of CDs that I have from touring. ENIAC, if you never listened to ENIAC, dude, all their stuff's on Bandcamp. ENIAC is amazing.
I gotta listen to that then.
Really good indie rock. Like, they would tour with Coalesce and shit, but they were an indie rock band. Just, I mean, still to this day, one of my favorite bands ever. Not just touring, just in general. Every song I don't think they've ever made a bad song. From Denton, Texas. They were a huge one. Trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean, like you said, we played with so many bands. Like, there were bands like Occam's Razor. They were always good. We met Bleeding Kansas playing with them. Obviously, loved those guys. Almost too many to think of. But those ones stick out still to this day. Listen to ENIAC. That's the best.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. The cool thing about you guys too back then was you guys played like in shows that had a bunch of different genres. You know what I mean? You would play with like the screamo, like bands. You would play with an emo band. You would play with a metalcore band. You would play with a moshcore band. You know what I mean? You guys played like tons of shows with just the genres were all over the place, and that's why I think a lot of people, you know, like the Hope, because you guys played with everybody, and it didn't matter what show it was. You'd be like, fuck it, we're playing with this, you know, this lineup, that lineup, this lineup, and I think your name kind of spread across the United States, and you know, I think the first thing that I heard was Explosion, and then I kind of went back and I got the demo, and then I got the first 7-inch and stuff like that, but you know, being from New Hampshire, it's tough to like get to bands from like California or Colorado, especially.
For sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? California kind of has a bigger scene than Colorado, obviously, but
yeah, kind of, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the internet wasn't prevalent. Like, I mean, you can listen to any band anywhere now. That wasn't a thing in 2000 to 2000 and what 5, 6. I guess it was really. I mean, you had, you know, LimeWire and Napster and stuff like that, but I mean, it wasn't the same. You never knew if you were downloading the virus or that. Sure. I mean, I still have a Slayer song that's not Slayer, but I downloaded it when I was like 12, and it said it was Slayer, but it is most definitely Megadeth. So you never even knew if you were getting the right band, you know, for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was like Audio Galaxy. I would try to look for Charles Bronson songs, and I would get quotes from Charles Bronson instead. I'm like, oh, sick, and then I was like, oh, fuck, this isn't it.
Yeah, man, you're trying to get youth attack. It's all fucked up.
It's crazy. So when the Hope ended, what did you go into Matterhorn after that, or was there another band after?
There was another
the Hope?
band. Me and Jeremy played in a band called Sawed Off after that, which was essentially just Acacia Strain 8. That's all it was. I mean, it was just that, which was fun to play in. I really wanted to play guitar in a band, and I had very, very limited skills at that time. So I started playing guitar in that, and then we quickly realized that I should just play drums anyway. So I went back to playing drums in that band. We did that for a while. Matterhorn actually started while the Hope still existed. It's kind of as like fun, you know. We liked Caius and Floor and stuff like that. We're like, well, let's just have a fun band. And, you know, I, at that point, smoked a ton of weed all the time. So I was like, well, you know, we might as well play some stoner rock. Why not? So that started in, I think, 2005 or 2006. But we really didn't do much with it until that Sawed-Off band stopped. Then we started doing Matterhorn, and then that basically took over as our full-time. The Hope is done. Now we're doing this band. Did one small tour with that, and then that kind of fell apart. And you know, but I mean, that's the story of bands. It might last for 6 months or 2 or 3 years, and then it's ran its course basically.
And it must have been good though, playing with Aaron and Jeremy in that band again. Like, once
it was very easy to play in that band because we knew each other, and the way that we played so well, it was just, it was just like, hey, let's just take Hope songs and slow them way. And that's basically all we had to do. So it was super easy to play in that band, and it was super fun too. I mean, to this day, that's still one of my favorite ones that we've done. That was always a fun one to play in.
And now, were you always wanted to play drums, or did you pick up another instrument before you found drums? Like, did you want to play guitar?
Since 4th or 5th grade in elementary school. So I mean that's always been my main instrument.
And what made you want to pick up the drum kit?
It was just an offered elective when I was in elementary school. They said, hey, you can do one of 3 or 4 things, and I was like, well, I like hitting shit, so let's go hit some shit. And they, give you a snare drum, and you worked up from there into symphonic band, and playing a large bass drum to playing in jazz band, stuff like that in junior high and into high school, and then you just kept up with it basically.
Now, were you a sports guy when you were a kid? Did you play sports when you were a kid?
Yeah, I played football. I played basketball in elementary school. Sucked at it, did track, really sucked at that, and then found the offensive line pretty good at that. I'm a big guy, so offensive line was definitely my calling.
Nice. Yeah, I always ask because you don't see a ton of people that played sports in high school that transition over to like playing in hardcore and screamo bands and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I always ask because, I was kind of like similar to your background where I was a metalhead when I was a kid. I did all the same things. Like my mom, took me to Iron Maiden shows and Ozzy.
Sure.
And I saw Metallica open up for Ozzy on the Ride the Lightning tour.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer for me once I saw that.
Oh,
and,
hell yeah.
And then it turned into like thrash metal for me, but I was always kind of like a jock all the way through high school, and I was going to hardcore shows all the time, so I was kind of like dressing like youth crew style, but but I was going to shows where people were, dressing emo-ish, and like they were like, who the fuck is this jock asshole? Like,
yeah.
But I loved all that heavy music too, so it's kind of like I almost didn't fit in, but it was just who I was. So I don't normally see like a lot of people that played sports, a ton going into like this kind of band, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean there was definitely a time, especially late '90s, early 2000s, where like it was almost kind of looked down to be like, oh yeah, I like football, or I'm sure you remember everyone be like, oh, sports ball, blah, blah, they make fun of you for it, shit like that. And I mean, obviously now I'm a grown man with children and stuff. I'm like, I don't care, but I do remember being awkward back then. But I mean, I wish I could go back and tell 16-year-old me like, no one gives a shit. Like like what you like, because not even half, like 90% of these people won't be in this in another 2 years. You know what I mean? There's not very many lifers in the game. I know in the state, and I've been here a long time, in the scene a long time. I maybe know 40 of them, something like that. I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands, I've seen come and go, basically, which is fine. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I don't waste your time worrying about what people are thinking about.
I never did. I never stopped like dressing the way I was and acting the way I was. It's funny because like one of my football teammates that I had was just like, dude, you're never gonna fucking listen to this music in 5 years. And I'm still listening to this music, and I'm talking to people that I admire and play heavy music. So big fuck you to that guy. Because,
exactly.
You know what I mean? I knew that it was a part of my life forever. I also wanted to talk about Worry and how that started. When I first heard that Burden demo, holy shit, man! Like I was like, fuck, this shit is so heavy, and like I was like, damn, like it like took me in, and it wasn't as doomy and as sludgy as it is now, but it had elements of that. How did Worry?
There's a big reason why, but yeah.
well, please let me know how Worry started and how it progressed into what it is now.
So basically, Matterhorn stopped. We had taken probably a year plus break from music. I think we were toured out or burnt out from touring, but I mean, we were just burnt out on playing music at that point. I had just had my daughter, right around then. Jeremy was also having his first kid shortly after that. We had other things to take care of at the time. So we had taken a break, and then I basically called him and I was like, dude, I want to play guitar. I've been wanting to play guitar now for like 15 years. I'm going to go buy a guitar rig, and we're going to start another band. And he said, okay, sounds good. And so we started the band, but he played guitar as well. So that's why it's kind of more spazzy and, chaotic, is because that's just how he plays guitar. And then once our drummer left and he moved to drums, I was writing all the riffs, and I just want to play nasty, sludgy stuff as long as humanly possible. So that's when that change really started. So the demo is him on it, and then the record after that has songs that he helped write. So it's still kind of in that, and then the last record and everything from there on out is just me writing the guitar part. So that's why it's so much sludgier than it was when it started, I should say.
Now, who's doing the vocals? Like, is
Me.
there like you're doing all the vocals?
So I do the vocals, and play guitar. Christian plays bass, and then our drummer's named Braden. It's just a three-piece.
Yeah, yeah. And what led to Jeremy leaving the band? Was it just life happened, and
Yeah, he
family
moved
and
to
stuff?
North Carolina with his family. His wife at the time got a job offer, so he, had to do what was best for the family, and he ended up going to North Carolina, and obviously hard to play in a band in Colorado
Yeah.
and North Carolina. So that's when it turned into, we just found a new drummer and went from there.
Yeah. And are you guys working on new songs with Worry? Because what was the Wisdom Through Shame was the last thing, like,
Correct.
album-wise, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's what we've been doing over the pandemic. So we have almost an entire new record written. Just got to iron out a few more things and then actually go record it and then, start the process of putting it out, which the way records are right now, that could be another year from now before it's actually released on any physical format. But
yeah, true.
We're getting close. Yeah.
Now, did you get burned out playing drums? Is that why you kind of wanted to play guitar?
Yeah, exactly. I started noticing, I was just doing the same thing in every band. I wasn't really progressing how I wanted to anymore. I was just kind of tired of doing the same thing. So that's when I switched to, let me try something new where at least this is all still fresh and new for me. I'll probably burn myself out on that pretty soon too, and then switch back. It's always something to play.
You guys have now you played a few shows since like the pandemic had happened, right? Just recently, was there a few Worry shows that happened?
Just one. So we
Just
played our
one.
first show in like 18 months last weekend, I think, something like that. So it was fun. It was fun to play shows again, kind of knock the rust off of it a little bit. But also, I don't miss loading gear and shit, man. I'm almost 40. Like that shit sucks. So, but no, it was fun to play. And I mean, hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll be able to continue to do that more and more as the new year comes along and all that kind of stuff. As long as there's no more major shutdowns and all that kind of stuff, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Now, how was Colorado with the shutdowns? Did they pinch you guys like really hard there, or
yeah, all venues were shut down, bars were shut down for months. And then it turned into, if you're a bar with a restaurant, you can open because you have a restaurant. But it was, sometimes it was 20 people max or a quarter of your capacity for fire code. It was, I mean, there was a lot. So basically shows didn't happen unless they were like house shows. And like I said, I mean, I've had asthma in the past. My daughter has asthma. I'm not trying to get my family sick. So I just basically said, I'm going to bow out of this for the next year and see what happens.
Yeah. It kind of like, they shut down stuff in Boston, and to the point where it was so long that it started drying out clubs, where clubs were just like they couldn't pay their bills, and they started going away. I mean, was that happening in Colorado? Because two big clubs in Boston kind of just folded, and now they're not having shows at all. Now that it's ramping back up.
I mean, luckily, not a lot had to close down, or if they did, they've since been able to reopen in new places, stuff like that. But I mean, it was touch and go there for a while. But I know a lot of, bars and things like that. Absolutely, just I mean, if you can't pay your bills for 6-9 months at a time, what are you going to do? Something's got to give somewhere. So, I mean, as far as all of our main venues around here, they were able to keep it going for the most part, or now they're back up and running again. It was just a rough go for a while.
No, hypothetically saying, if 2022, kind of gets better, and there's not a ton of COVID cases everywhere, is a tour in your future, maybe, or no?
It could be in the winter time. So with my work, spring through summer is a nightmare for me. So I'm basically forced to only be able to tour in the fall and the winter time. So it's not out of the question. Obviously not like we used to do. We're talking, 10 to 14 days at most. I have a wife and kids that I need to be around for and that kind of stuff. But it's not out of the question for sure. Would we make it all the way to where you're at? Probably not. We're probably more looking like a Midwest type of deal.
It's not a deterrent, but in the wintertime, that's when like flu season happens and like more cases of COVID too. So
I
that's
know.
another added like bullshit thing that you'd have to worry about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, luckily everyone in our band's fully vaccinated, so we're pretty good. Not saying that obviously we can't get sick still or anything, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I have limited options with my job.
Yeah.
Spring and summer, I have to be available basically all the time, no matter what,
Yeah.
unless there's like a family emergency type deal.
Yeah.
So for me, to leave in June or something like that to go on a tour, I'd more than likely lose my job, which then means I lose my house and everything else.
Yeah.
That's no good.
Yeah. And shows are touch and go too. Anyways, Slapshot had a huge like sold out show up here in Middle East in Boston, and then like a couple days later, they're saying that there was like a COVID cluster that had happened at the show and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's always worries and stuff like that, especially touring. I mean, if you're, miles and miles away from your house and you get sick like that, it's like, what the fuck do? You know what I mean? It's a scary thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we just had Every Time I Die come through, and Candy was supposed to open, and apparently they might have had the same issue with some COVID issues. And I mean, I really wanted to see Candy. I haven't seen Candy. I've seen Every Time I Die a dozen times, but I really wanted to see Candy. And I was like, well, that's what we're in now, and that might be what we're in for the foreseeable future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Definitely.
So it is what it is. You make the best of it. I guess I'm getting to the point where I'm like, well, I just can't live my house or my life inside of my house 24/7. I have to try to live somewhat. And just hope for the best, I guess. I'll do everything I can to protect myself and roll those dice every now and again.
I did the same thing. I mean, I went to the Bahamas in July, and I was like, fuck. I was like, just like you were saying, I can't stay in my house and just, I got to take a chance here and there. So I took my family to Bahamas, and then we hit Florida for a couple of days, and then we got home, and luckily everybody was healthy and happy. And then look, the shitty part is 3 weeks ago we all got COVID, and we were all and I'm vaccinated, and I still fucking caught it.
Yep.
So my wife, I was trying to isolate her, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna get it, and fucking got me, and it was kind of a shitty deal. Luckily, it was just like some fevers and chills and headache.
Yeah,
I was down for the count for like 2-3 days, but it sucks. You know what I mean? And it's a serious thing.
Sure.
It's a serious thing if you're around like elderly people or people with, compromised immune systems. And
exactly.
Stuff like that.
Even if you just work, like it's a serious thing. Most people I know can't miss 5-6 days of work.
Yeah.
That becomes a large burden on them for a long time. So, but yeah, I do. I have a buddy here in town who's had COVID before he could get a vaccine, got the full vaccine, and got it again. Oh, and I was like, dude, this is bad news for you, man. COVID's out for you for sure. It's like the Final Destination shit.
What was the time frame between like him getting COVID
like
and then
a year? Like he caught it twice and got completely vaxxed up in like a year, but he wasn't at a venue. So I mean, he's around hundreds of people all the time. So again, you're just you got to gamble, I guess, every now and again on what's going to happen to you.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, did he get it worse the second time, or was it kind of because he had the antibodies? It kind of was just not as bad the second time, or did he get hit
not
hard
as bad the second time? Same thing, kind of fever, not feeling hot for a couple of days, a lot of rest and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously not like no hospital, nothing like that. So overall, just a really shitty flu, basically.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask about the current situation, scene-wise, in Colorado. What are some of the new bands that you've been listening to that are heavy, that somebody that might not hear from up where I am, that want to check out new bands from Colorado? What are some of the new bands that you recommend listening to?
All right, give me a minute here, because it has been like a year and a half since I've really seen a lot of bands play. So I mean, the ones that everyone probably knows, like Primitive Man, obviously they're huge. Orcs is really good. Calcutta's really good. In the Company of Servants is good. They're different kind of heavy, but good.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else? A Feather and Bone, if you never listened to that, great death metal. Vermin Room is killer grindcore, or just grind, actually. What else? I'm trying to think of other good bands from around the way. Grief Ritual is good, especially if you like female-fronted, metal hardcore stuff. That's really good. When more come to me, I'll holler at you.
Well, see, most of those bands I haven't heard, so that's what I love. You know what I mean? Because you'll say a bunch of bands, and then that's when I do a deep dive and I start listening to those bands. And I feel like anybody that's listening to us talk and stuff like that, always check out bands that they've never heard too, because that's something I'm always digging for new music to listen to, and something will hit me like that, and I'm like, hooked right away. So I always ask if anybody, is listening to something, new and fresh and what's in their scene too. So I appreciate you telling me those bands, because I'm going to check out like all those bands that I hadn't heard of.
Yeah, any love you can shine on your local scene, always, buddy.
Yeah, it's true. I wanted to ask about your Jungle Balls, because of the song. You can take Dan's balls out of the jungle. Do you still have Jungle Balls?
Yeah, man, they're getting worse the older I get. It's fucked up. Yeah, unfortunately, I still do.
Well, usually at the end of like my discussions, I always do a quick rapid fire. So I'll blast off.
Wait. Before you do rapid fire, let's talk about Creation's Crucifixion for a minute, because I've seen you've had a couple of those chapter guys and stuff on there.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands of all time. So
chapter or Creation?
Creation, or both. I mean, dude, actually, Chapter Abnegation Split was my first record I ever bought.
Oh, I know. I was talking about that with Scott Mellinger from Zayo, because that split, I don't know, changed me too when I heard that. Yeah, it's crazy. It was weird. I was talking to Nathan B., who used to be from I think he played bass in Creation, and we were talking, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll hook you up with Nathan, the singer, through email and stuff like that." So me and him started emailing each other, and then he was like, let's put Michael on and Paul on, and let's just do like a four-way discussion. I was like, dude, I'm totally into that.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish Scott came in too, because Scott played in the first bits of Creation. He was in Silico, which I love in Silico. That album is fucking crazy to me. So I was just lucky to get to talk to those guys, and I had seen them up in Rochester, New Hampshire, and Lawrence, Massachusetts when they came up here, and I don't know what year it was. It was probably late 90s or whatever it was, but I was just lucky to talk to those guys, and they were super nice, and that's what I mean. I love talking to all you guys, because I went to shows. I've been going to shows since 1983 when I was 11 years old. Like, my cousin's weird friend was like, "You want to go to this punk show in Boston?" Took me, and I saw SSD and DYS and Angry Samoans as a little kid, and I had long hair, and I was scared shitless. And then after that, I was like, "Oh fuck! I don't want to go to hardcore shows anymore." So I started kept going to thrash metal shows, and then by 87, 88, I was 15, 16. And I was like, "All right, I'm full-fledged into hardcore now. I'm a little bit bigger. I can take care of myself, and shit like that." So I have been going to shows since 83, and I've never stopped. You know what I mean? It's from 83 till still now. I think the last show that I went to, I saw I saw some old school New York bands. I saw Agnostic Front a year and a half ago, and I saw Murphy's Law a year and a half ago. I saw Sheer Terror a year and a half ago, and then I saw Jerome's Dream when they reunited and did that tour too. So
they never got out this way. Although I did get an email from Death Wish this morning. I guess my copy of Presents is on the way. So sick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I'll ever stop going to shows, honestly, and
unless you physically can. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's the thing. I'll be turning 50 in a month, so I'm going to try to do a show up here maybe next year if things settle out a little bit, and I'll try to have like a little fest here for my 50th, just to celebrate the bands that I love and stuff like that. I mean, I would love to have Worry, but I know it's a fucking Colorado to New Hampshire is quite a trek. So
it can be, yeah. Get a backline and we'll chat. How about that?
Definitely. Yeah, but like I said, Creation and Chapter and Abnegation and stuff like that. I talked to Iggy last weekend, and Iggy's such a great guy, the singer of Abnegation. It's just been super fun, and like I said, after we talk, I always throw these up on YouTube, so whoever misses this stuff like that can always like go back and listen to all the discussions I've had and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Because I go from a wide range of heavy music, you know what I mean? I talked to Poor Cell from Youth of Today to like Nathan from Karloff, that's like a newer band from Canada, you know what I mean? Like heavy screamo band like that. So I talk to everybody in the full spectrum of like heavy music, and it's been super fun and positive for me too.
Absolutely.
But you ready for some rapid fire?
As ready as I'm going to get.
All right. The first question I always ask, what is your all-time favorite punk hardcore band from New England? Since I'm from New England, like
from New England. All right. Give me a second. Because
New England being like, you know, Massachusetts, Rhode Island,
right?
Connecticut.
Fuck. See, I know I'm going to give the wrong answer because you said favorite, and now I'm having a hard time. I'm just going to say Converge. Fuck it. We'll go with Converge.
Yeah, I hear a lot of Converge. I definitely hear a lot of Converge. Definitely. They're up there for me too.
Did you count Pennsylvania in New England?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so New England is New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine.
Oh, Hatebreed,
Vermont.
Connecticut. Hatebreed, my choice. Yep.
All right, that's a good one.
Only
under the knife.
And Perseverance. Other than that, it doesn't count.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one totally, completely. Under the Knife is like, you can't touch that for me being a Hatebreed fan.
Oh, fuck no. Yeah. Under the Knife and Satisfaction just.
Yeah, so good. My second question: what was the first real punk hardcore show you attended, and who played that show? Not like a Battle of the Bands type of thing.
Yeah,
like
no,
a real,
I remember because it was a local show. So I'm trying to remember the bands that were on it. It was fuck. I think there was a band named Instant Lunch. They were obviously the punk band. Shit, dude, I'm trying to remember who else was on it. I saw it at a warehouse called The Project, which was just a warehouse by train tracks. But yeah, it was just a local show. That was like my first real punk and hardcore show. It was just a local show here in town. Yeah.
Now, what was your first like real one that was like with like well-known bands? Do you remember that?
I think it was Zale.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 99, 98, something like that. Yeah, it was like bigger bands. Yeah.
What album was that they were pushing on that?
I think it would have been Where Blood and Fire Bring Rest, which is the band. Yeah, I mean, it's the only one you need, really.
That and the Training for Utopia split is like.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, and whatever the Liberat, whatever the.
Oh yeah, that one.
Hell or whatever. That was pretty good too.
That one's good too. Yeah, definitely. My next question: what was your favorite hardcore punk show that you attended that you didn't play? Like some band that you went to see that blew you away, but you guys didn't play. You didn't play at all the show.
So I'm going to count this as hardcore punk because the ethos are there, even though the sound isn't. I'm either going to have to say Neurosis or When I Hate God First Came Back. Both of those were fucking super fun shows to see.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Otherwise, Madball and Sick of It All for the 20th anniversary tour. That one was a banger too. A scary banger. That was one of those ones where you're like, oh shit, I might get really hurt today.
That's true. My next question is, what was some of your favorite shows that you played? One in Great Redneck Hope and two like Worry. Like, what was some of the best shows that you guys played for you personally?
In the Hope, we got to play South by Southwest one year, so that was a big deal for us. So that one always sticks out. That show that we played with the Acacia Train always sticks out just because it was so fucking wild. You know what I mean? It was just crazy shit. In Worry, we haven't really played that many shows, honestly. We probably only played 15, 20 shows in like the 6 years we've been playing together.
Really? Really?
Yeah, we don't fit on anything, so we just don't play that often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we have got to play. We got to play with Cro-Mags and I Hate God. That was a sick one.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Oh yeah, that was a fun show, and that tour came around 2-3 years ago, whatever that was.
Yeah. Now, did Sawed Off play a bunch of shows while you were in Sawed Off?
No, that band was pretty quick, flash in the pan type deal.
Yeah. And what was recorded on for Sawed Off?
Just a demo that we made.
Now is that out anywhere on like the internet or?
No, that was back in the days of burning CDs in your house.
Yeah. My next question, I'm a huge movie guy. I watch movies all the time. What was your last movie that you watched?
What was the last? Despicable Me with the kids. That was the last movie I watched. Yeah.
Nice. I almost got to watch Jungle Cruise with my kids last night, but they were like, let's watch it, and then I was like, oh, you guys ready? And then they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's watch it tomorrow. So like, I got out of Jungle Cruise last night.
Yeah, you saved yourself pretty hard on that one. We watched it like a week ago, and man, it was a rough go.
It's rough.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking rough, man.
Damn. I'm in for it then. Like,
you're fucked. You're fucked.
Oh, shit. Speaking of movies, I always ask this too. What is your favorite all-time horror movie?
All-time horror movie? I always liked House on Haunted Hill, the original one. I always liked that one, except for the ending fucking bums me out every time I see it. But yeah, that one I always liked. And then, I mean, like, you can't go wrong with like Hellraiser. Like the first Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking banger.
Yeah, definitely. I like Hellraiser Part 2, the uncut version. Like, I think I like that better.
Dude, I mean, honestly, like the first 3 or 4 of them are pretty good, and then it starts going off the rails a little bit. But like, I just remember seeing the first one when I was way too young to see it at a friend's house, and like when that dude's like skinned and shit, I was like, whoa, like, this is a lot. So like, it always sticks out as like actually scaring me when I was a kid.
Yeah. Nice. I also am like a big hip hop guy, but more like a '90s boom bap hip hop, not the newer shit.
Same, dude.
I always ask, if you've been listening to hip hop, what have you been listening to lately for hip hop?
Lately, actually, I've been listening to a lot of old like Sage Francis, stuff like that. You know, that's really where my wheelhouse is. But I mean, yesterday I listened to Biggie and Nas. You know, that was what I did while we were cooking Thanksgiving dinner. So, yeah, I mean, as far as new stuff, either Run the Jewels or Kendrick Lamar. That's pretty much all the new shit I listen to. Otherwise,
yeah. Now, do you listen to any of the like West Side Gun, Conway stuff? Have you heard that stuff?
No, I haven't.
Benny the Butcher. It's
I've
in
heard
that
Benny
vein.
the Butcher. I've heard that name before.
Yeah, it's in the vein of the '90s boom bap style, but it's like so it's not trappish and new, like, you know, the beats of the, you know, the new stuff. It's more of our style of hip hop. You know what I mean?
Sweet. Yeah, I'll check it out.
I'll send you some links or whatever if you're interested.
Perfect. Yeah, please do.
And my final question is, what are some of the favorite songs you like to perform live with the Hope and like you know, Worry? What was always your favorite to play live?
For the Hope, it was always the song Christian Kids. It's the second song off Explosion. That was always just a fun one to play. It's real fast. Yeah. It's fun to do. With Worry, kind of hate them all because I'm fat and I have to sing and I'm just out of breath the whole time. So anyone that I have to sing the least amount in, that's my favorite one to
do. Now, who came up with all the crazy? I know back then in the, you know, early to mid 2000s, all those crazy, like, you know, long titled song titles and stuff like that. Like, who came up with all that stuff?
All of us. Just you'd see
all
something
you guys.
funny or think of something funny, and we'd make a song out of it. That was all. There was literally no more thought into it other than that.
Yeah, because I remember like a lot of bands were doing it at the time. I know
that was the thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, because like as you mentioned, As the Sun Sets, after they kind of got off that metalcore first album, and they got short and like spazzy, they started doing song titles like that, and then as they progressed, they were doing crazy name titles songs too as well, and everybody at that era, all that era was like that too.
Exactly, yeah. It was just something in the water in the early 2000s where you had to have a sentence-long song title that had absolutely nothing to do with anything else going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to thank you so much for taking time out. You know what I mean? Like, you have a family, I have a family. It means a lot to me just to sit down with you for an hour or so and just talk about the old times and what's going on new and stuff like that.
For sure.
My final thing for you is, like, if you have anything to plug for Worry or any other bands that you got coming up or you're involved in or anything like that, like, please let us know.
I don't have anything to plug myself personally, but our bass player builds cabinets and stuff like that. Like, so if you're a gear dork that wants, like an Atlas cab but at a cheaper price, check out Pryor Cabinets. Let's see, the guitar player from The Hope plays in a band called Cosmic Reaper in North Carolina. Kind of like Electric Wizard type stoner rock stuff. And they're on Heavy Psych Sounds, that big label that has like Bongzilla and shit on it. So if anyone listens to it like that kind of shit, check that out. Otherwise, we're going to try to finish up this recording and then hopefully have a new record out.
Nice. Now, do you ever have a fever for playing the more chaotic, like spazzy, grindy stuff? Do you feel that fever in you to go back to doing that?
For sure, yeah. It's something that seems fun, and then I remember, oh man, I don't know if I can physically do that anymore. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll get nostalgic for it every now and again, and want to be 20 again, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so if anybody came up to you and was like, "Oh, do you want to get into a grindcore, chaotic, spastic band?" You'd be into it, or would you be like, I don't know, maybe?
It depends on what kind of grind they're talking about. At this point in my life, it's either Discordance Axis and Nazem, or I'm not fucking doing it. Too many parts in those. I can't do that shit anymore. My memory's gone.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I want to thank you so much again. I super appreciate it. It's great seeing your face again. You know what I mean? It's been literally like 15, 16 years since I saw The Hope. So it's great talking to you, and I appreciate your time. And I hope you have a great holiday coming up. And stay safe out there, and all the shows, stay safe out there for whatever you're doing, playing-wise and stuff like that.
I appreciate you having me on, buddy. Thank you very much.
All right, and let's stay in touch, please. Like, anything you need up here, like, hit me up if you need anything in New Hampshire. If you're ever up in the, north up here, I don't have to tell you about the mountains. You know all about the mountains. So,
I know about those, yeah. I know about those. Easy enough. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good
day. You too.
Bye.